Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Poirier finishes Saint Denis. They're going crazy.
Let's go, baby!
They're going crazy. They're going crazy.
Let's go, baby!
What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA podcast. And this week ahead, UFC Vegas 90, another week in the Apex Center. Fortunately, we had UFC Atlantic City last night. We had a crowd. And now we got the calm before the storm. This is how UFC Vegas 90 will be remembered. The calm before the storm of UFC 300, which is just now, 12 days away. So we got one more fight night to get through. And then UFC 300 is official. And monumental moment, the height of the UFC. That's how UFC 300 will be remembered. So that's what's coming up over the next 2 weeks. But first, we got some big news for you today. And that's that it seems like, okay, it's not official, but it very well seems like Dustin Poirier is going to get a title shot. Saying on social media today, I'm cooking up something for y'all. He's back in training according to Sports Illustrated. So it's looking more and more like Dustin Poirier is going to return and is going to be fighting for the lightweight title against your boy Islam Makhachev. And what an opportunity for Poirier. I think the UFC, there's a lot going for Poirier right now. Number one, everyone else is tied up. Somehow they got Gaethje mixed in with this fight with Max Holloway. After he beat Poirier and he's primed and ready for the title, somehow he's fighting Max Holloway for the BMF belt. How that happened, nobody knows. But it opened the door for Dustin Poirier when he KO'd Saint Denis.
Poirier finishes Saint Denis. They're going crazy.
And I'm telling you, when he got that KO, it's like, I think there's a lot of people that thought Saint Denis was going to win. And when he finished Saint Denis the way he did,
they're going crazy.
The place went bananas. And this is just a tremendous opportunity for Dustin Poirier. And that's really the breaking news of the day. That's the main gist of what's going on today. And yeah, I'm going to lean towards Islam Makhachev because he's up there on the dude list. You got to believe in him. But I'll tell you what, if DP, the Diamond, can pull this thing off, forget about it. Forget about it. I'll be happy to lose that prediction, even though it might be the main event on June 1 in Newark, New Jersey for UFC 302. That's the talk. That's what everybody's saying. I wouldn't be surprised if it's made official tomorrow, actually, or sometime this week, because that's 2 months away. Poirier is going into camp right now. He's rushing into camp. Like, he's sprinting into camp at America Top Team. He's going to be ready. And 8 weeks is plenty of time. Really the best case scenario for Poirier. He doesn't need a long training camp. He just fought. He's got to get in there and mix it up a little bit. It's like, timing-wise, he's 35 years old, right? He's going to start slowing down, but not today. And this will be just a tremendous opportunity for him if the UFC grants that. And I hope they do. Now, as we shift gears into UFC Vegas 90, this first prediction coming your way is a very interesting fight. Norma Dumont is working her way into the women's bantamweight division because the other division is probably fallen by the wayside, the women's featherweight. So she's getting back down to 135, and she's taking on Germaine de Randamie, who, for all accounts and purposes, should be a heavy favorite in this fight. But guess what? She hasn't fought since 2020 when she was at the top, losing to Nunes but beating Juliana Pena. So maybe Randamie just looks at this like, this is the perfect time to get back. I got to get back because the belt is kind of wide open right now with Rockwell Pennington at champ. So let's get into that prediction first. In the women's bantamweight division at UFC Vegas 90, you got Norma Dumont taking on Germaine de Randamie. Randamie was dominant in this division at one point. She got to the top and suffered a couple losses. Now Randami is 10-4, Dumont 10-2. Now Randami 2 inches taller at 5'9", but she's 39. Dumont just 33 years old. Randami's got a 4-inch reach advantage. They both stand right-handed. Dumont's a little more active, but she's not very active, just 3.4 significant strikes per minute, 2.7 for De Randami. That's a very slow pace, and she doesn't like to go for takedowns. So very calculated fighter in Randami. Now Dumont also lands like a takedown every other round, and Randami's takedown defense is like average at like 70%. Now Dumont, aka the Immortal, she's got a 72% takedown defense. That'll be great here in this fight. She won 3 in a row against Chelsea Chandler, Carol Rosa, and Danielle Wolf, all 3 by unanimous decision. All 3 she led in significant strikes and takedowns. She's had 6 takedowns in the last 3 fights. Her opponents, just 1. So she's been dominant as of late. Her last loss was to Macy Chiasson by split decision, or she'd be on a 7-fight win streak. So Norma Dumont's for real. Now, De Randami is going to be a step up, though. She's coming off the win over Juliana Pena by submission. That was back in 2020. So it's been a while since we've seen Randami. So just remember how good she is, beating Juliana Pena, who went on to win the women's bantamweight title. For that, she lost to Amanda Nunes by decision and beat Aspen Ladd and Rockwell Pennington. So she's got an impressive resume. You know, and how do you look at this fight? It's different because Norma Dumont is now getting down into a lower weight class for obvious reasons. And how does that affect her? Right? De Randami has just been awesome when she's been in the octagon. Is Norma Dumont that good? Has De Randami fell off in the last 4 years? It's a very difficult fight to predict. Dumont is the favorite, and I'm going to have to lean that way. Although De Randami, if she comes in like her old self, she's going to dominate here. But it's been 4 years. She was 35. She's now 39. She's got that octagon or ring rust they talk about. So I think that's going to plague her here. Norma Dumont should get the victory if she fights well. She'll move to 11-3 with a decision victory, in my opinion. It will go the distance. Women's bantamweight division, UFC Vegas 90. Yeah, so tough prediction there. I mean, Norma Dumont, really, really good. And Germaine De Randami is really good as well. She's just 39. We haven't seen her in a while. It's been a few years. Like I said in the prediction, if we get the De Randami that we're used to, she's going to dominate this fight. But if not, Norma Dumont's primed and ready to win this battle. But to me, this is more of a tune-up fight for Randami's return than anything. But the ring rust is real, and it's going to cause her a problem in this one. Now, as we keep it moving, the first 2 predictions of the 4 we're going to give you are in the prelims. So make sure you're ready to go early for this one. The next one is Court McGee versus Alex Morono. 2 heavy hitters, both guys capable of getting KO victories at any time. Check it out. In the welterweight division at UFC Vegas 90, you got Court McGee coming in at 22-12, taking on Alex Morono, who comes in at 23-9. Always a tough prediction, especially when guys got a combined 21 losses. They're both capable of winning and losing at the same time. Both guys 5'11". Court McGee's getting older, man, 39. Morono's just 33. Big difference in age. Court McGee, 3-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Both guys are pretty active. Nearly 5 significant strikes per minute for both, so it's really close there. Court McGee can land like 2 takedowns every 3 rounds, and Morono doesn't have a good takedown defense at 50%. Now, Court McGee's lost back-to-back fights to Matt Brown and Jeremiah Wells, both by KO. That's not good. Before that, he beat Ramiz Brahimov by decision and Claudio Silva by decision. So he's got 2-2 in his last 4. Morono lost to 2 tough fighters in Joaquin Buckley and Santiago Ponzinibbio, so that's only going to make him better going forward. Buckley outstruck him 68-40. But before that, he KO'd Tim Means. Despite giving up 2 takedowns and trailing 40-33 in significant strikes, he found a way to get the job done. And that kind of gives you some insight on how this fight's going to go. It's very hard to go against Morono because he's still getting better. He's still just 33. He lost to 2 really good fighters and beat a tough Tim Means. Court McGee's no slouch, but the losses are piling up. 12 now. That's not good. That's why Morono is the favorite, and that's why I like him to win this fight. He just finds ways to win, and Court McGee continues to find ways to lose. You know, I like Court McGee, but he's trending downward right now and nearing 40. So Morono, in my opinion, gets the win by decision, welterweight division, UFC Vegas 90. Yeah, and it's a shame because I like Court McGee, man. Every time I see him fight, I'm like, how does he lose? The guy is big. He's big, and he's capable of, KOs. He has KO power. But he finds ways to lose, and Alex Morono wins. So how am I going to go against Morono in this one, even though I like Court McGee? That's the dilemma. Now, slide with me into the co-main event, because the co-main event is going to be ridiculous. You got Alexander Hernandez versus Damon Jackson. Let's just get right into this one right now. In the featherweight division at UFC Vegas 90, your co-main event, Alexander Hernandez takes on Damon Jackson. Hernandez 14-7, Damon Jackson 22-6. Now, Jackson 2 inches taller, 5'11". He's 35, Hernandez 31. Both veterans of the game, both very skilled. Hernandez 1-inch reach advantage. He fights right-handed. Damon Jackson is a switch stance fighter. Hernandez more active, 4.6 significant strikes per minute to 3. Exactly for Damon Jackson. Not too good. But Damon Jackson doubles him up on takedowns, nearly landing a takedown per round compared to about a takedown every other round for Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez, 60% takedown defense. That's decent. Coming off the loss to Bill Algeo by decision, but he beat Jim Miller before that by decision. He also lost to Billy Quarantillo, Renato Moicano. So some tough fighters. Damon Jackson, on the other hand, 40% takedown defense. Not great. He's coming off the loss to Billy Q. So look at Billy Q beating both of these guys. Also losing to Dan Ige by KO. Before that, he beat Pat Sabatini and Dan Argueta. So these guys are very close in skill, and both guys desperately need a win, and I love fights like that. But to me, Alexander Hernandez is the better fighter. He's a better striker. The takedown defense isn't great, but 60% and being as strong as he is and a little bit lower to the ground, 2 inches shorter, will help in that defense. And it's going to need every bit of it to keep this fight standing. And that's where Hernandez will dominate to move to 15-7, in my opinion. Featherweight division, co-main event, UFC Vegas 90. Yeah, and the trouble for Damon Jackson is this is another guy that finds ways to lose. He shouldn't be losing all these fights. But he had that long layoff and came back, and he looked good for a fight or two, but it just doesn't seem like he's the same. So I got to go with Hernandez in this big co-main event. Now, before we get into the main event, let's preview some of the rest of the card. In the first fight of the night, Nora Cornell versus Melissa Mullins. Mullins, in her second UFC fight, both of them in her second fight, is 6-0 overall right now, 1-0 in the UFC. So that's going to be a battle to start the night. Then in the second fight, you got Dylan Budka, 7-2 versus Cesar Almeida, who looked great at the Contender Series. He's 4-0, but he's a slight underdog in this one. So things get started quick and early in this card. Then after that, fight 3. Well, third fight from the beginning, right? Dan Argueta versus Gene Matsumoto. Matsumoto, Brazilian, 14-0. This guy is ridiculous. Look for him to win that one. Then you got Pierre Rodriguez versus Cynthia Calvillo, 9-1 versus 9-6. Don't let the records confuse you. You got Alatang Ali versus Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo's got 24 wins. So that's going to be a tough guy to beat, tough Brazilian to beat. As you get into the main card, you got Trevor Peek versus Charlie Campbell. That should be an interesting fight, 9-1 versus 8-2. You got Walker, Brazilian, 11-0, taking on Lucchesi Brzeski. That's a good one. Bahamondes versus Giagos. Gotta love that in fight 3. Fight 4, Then in fight 3, as we get closer to the top, you got Morgan Cherie versus Chepe Mariscal, 19-9 versus 15-6. So, some of these very, very close fights, tough to predict. But now, as we slide into the main event is going to be highly interesting because it's a rematch between Brendan Allen and Chris Curtis. Now, Brendan Allen lost that fight and got KO'd, but he's been winning pretty much ever since. So can he come back and get the win? People believe he can. He's the favorite. But does that mean I'm going for him? Not necessarily. Let's get into it right now. In the middleweight division at UFC Vegas 90, it goes down in the main event at the Apex Center. Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis 2. Yes, the rematch. Chris Curtis won the first one by second round KO. More on that in a minute. Brendan Allen 23-5. Chris Curtis 31-10. Brendan Allen 4 inches taller at 6'2". He's now 28, not 25. Since the first fight. Chris Curtis is now 36 years old. Both guys with a 75-inch reach. Both guys stand right-handed. Chris Curtis much more active. That was the problem in the first fight. 6 significant strikes per minute to 3.9 for Brendan Allen. But Brendan Allen can land like a takedown every other round. So the key here is Chris Curtis's takedown defense, 92%. So he's going to be stuck in a stand-up striking with Chris Curtis once again. Since the loss, now let's start with the loss. This is second round KO. Chris Curtis led 61-43, right about how you'd think it would go. But again, that was 3 years ago. December, well, not quite 3 years, 2.5. December 4, 2021. But since then, Brendan Allen has been perfect, running off 6 in a row, including a most recent win against Paul Craig by submission. Bruno Silva, very tough fighter, submission, wow. Andre Muniz, submission. Krzysztof Jotko, submission. So it seems as of late, Brendan Allen's surging. He's getting better and better every time out, winning 6 in a row. Forget about it. Chris Curtis, 2-2 in the last 4. Beating Marc-Andre Barrial, good fighter, and Joaquin Buckley, good fighter. He lost to Kelvin Gastelum by decision, and Azardine Amavov, which was actually a no contest. So the odds have flipped now. Brendan Allen's a 2-1 favorite. Why is that? Because he's run off 4 straight submission victories. But Chris Curtis has great takedown defense. It would only take 1 takedown, though. Chris Curtis doesn't give up takedowns. He stops like 19 out of 20 or at least 9 out of 10. He's ridiculous on the takedown defense. But Brendan Allen is a much different fighter. He's going to run through Chris Curtis this time around, really focusing on the control time. Even if he doesn't get takedowns, there's going to be more clinch work, things of that nature. He's learned his lesson and he's older. I think Brendan Allen gets the job done in the rematch. I don't agree with the 2-1 favorite, but he's definitely like, 1.5 to 1 favorite. Brendan Allen wins, in my opinion. This fight goes to a decision because Chris Curtis is that tough. Brendan Allen moves to 24-5. Chris Curtis falls to 31-11. Middleweight division, UFC Vegas 90. Yeah, and let's just be real. We're 4-7 in the main event this year. It's just ridiculously terrible. And might as well just go with the favorite until we get a victory. That's just how I feel about it. And I'm joking, sort of. But as I make the prediction for Brendan Allen, I'm like, wait a minute, he got KO'd by this guy last time they fought. But Brendan Allen is a different fighter, and you got to believe that. 4 straight submission victories, 6 wins in a row, and you got to credit the guy to want to go back to a fighter that beat him and want to avenge that loss. And I think he's going to do so because he's confident and he wants it, and he's probably training his butt off for it. That's the way I feel about it. But let's wrap it up. For now, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. As always, peace.